Right now, the interview you will only see right here on the record. We went to Michigan to talk to the family of Amir Hekmati, our Marine wrongly imprisoned in Iran. His family told us about the brutal conditions he faces every day inside Iran's most dangerous prison. When you found out that he was alive and in the prison with some, I guess, that was good news to be in the prison. Were you able to communicate with him at that point?
No.
No, we were not.
Anybody go visit him at that point in the family?
They were not allowing visitors.
So he's sitting there by himself in the Evan prison with no idea what's going on in the outside world.
He has no idea what's going on in his own world. He was in a solitary confinement. The one thing that people miss in it, I walk by rooms, whether it be a closet or just a storage space, and I see a 1 meter by 1 meter squared area, and my heart drops. It still does, because I think they put him there for months. He had a 10-minute break a week, once a week, to stretch his legs. And coming from thinking about what it does to his body, to his mind, I mean, forget his body. Imagine what it does to his mind. And then you think, who is he? What happened to him? What could have been done to Amir, and who's he going to be when he comes back? And then we hear his voice, and he talks to us, and he gives us reassurance, and he's reassuring us. And then you realize what kind of grit he really was made of.
So January 2012, does he have a trial, or he just gets a sentence of death?
He got to meet with his attorney for 5 minutes before a trial, and mind you, a court-appointed attorney. So he was begging them for a shred of evidence to be presented in the court that is going to validate their decision to sentence him to death. They never showed him any of the evidence that they used to determine this sentence. From January till March, our family was in limbo, not knowing when they were going to hang him, because they said this is basically how they go about with the death sentence.
No due process. He had a file that they would refer to as his file. There's evidence that may be held against him that no one has ever seen.
How did you find out they'd been sentenced to death?
We found out like you found out.
The news?
In the news.
Yep.
Who found out in your family? Who saw it first?
We watched every bit of it. We watched the news, and every time we watch the news as a family, we wonder what ripple effect it's going to have on Amir. Any foreign news, so we're always watching the news. We watch multiple outlets. We're looking for any news breaks about Amir, because that's where we got all our information. That's how we found out he was taken as a spy in the interview.
Plus, because of the time difference, I still remember that night we were woken up at 4 in the morning because of the time difference there. I got a phone call saying, you need to get up and watch the news. Your brother's been sentenced to death.
What have you learned about his conditions? I realize you told me about the solitary confinement, which is terribly, punitive. But what else? What about his condition?
At what point? Initially,
any point. I mean, tell me about what's been going on with him.
Initially, when he was tortured, his conditions weren't just solitary.
What's the torture like?
The torture we heard of, as described by Amir himself, was cold water, dirty cold water, poured on the ground whenever he'd fall asleep to kind of keep him awake. Lights on, day and night, just to interrupt his sleep pattern. And these are just the smaller things. He was hung by his arms.
Tasered.
Hung by his arms?
Hung by his arms for an indefinite amount of time.
For what reason? Just to torture him?
Stress positions for long periods of time. He had to endure the news that they had told him that his mother was killed in a car accident. Just the emotional torture of being told that and not having a way to contact our family. To be told that and not know if that's true or not. He was drugged with lithium for a long period of time, and then forcibly it was removed so that he would have to endure painful withdrawal symptoms. And then he was whipped on his feet.
And has that been the whole duration, or is that...
No, initially. We think it may have something to do with his confession, having him confess or to...
You're talking about that videotape that he
Yes.
made, which was just prior to the January 2012 trial.
We believe his worst treatment was before that video, was before his death sentence.
Have you seen the video?
We saw clips of it.
How did he look?
Very pale, very gaunt. If you see pictures of my brother when he was on the trip, he's athletic build.
He's a Marine.
He's very, very fit, and he looked like he had lost, and we found out he said he lost over 30 pounds. Very pale because he was in solitary and not access to light. And then in addition to that, it was just horrific to know that people may not know this, but historically, Iran is known for forcing people to make confessions to validate the imprisonment.
Now, this Iranian cruelty doesn't just impact Amir or his parents. It actually impacts all Americans, all Marines, his friends, etc., and even Amir's 7-year-old nephew, Sammy. Sammy even came up with an escape plan. Sammy, you gotta come here and explain this to me, okay?
But they're going to
Okay.
it on camera.
Okay. First of all, Sammy, how old are you?
7.
Okay, and is Amir your uncle?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you have what, an escape plan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is me. And see, right over there, that is me. See where the arrow's pointing? That's me. So that's Amir in jail.
Okay, and I can see that's a prison. That's a gate right there, a prison.
And well, Daddy, and that's Dad. Well, he pokes the guard in the eye. I'll grab the key and open the gate and free Amir. And then as soon as I flip the thing over, we run. See? Back to the car.
That's the escape plan. Well, that's a great escape plan. Who came up with that? You?
Uh-huh.
So it's not just children. You know, a lot of people suffer like this. And of course, it's not just Sammy. The Marine's little niece also has an escape plan. And you can hear what she told us. Just go to GretaWire.com. And straight ahead, you'll hear what the White House is now claiming about the Americans held in Iran, plus the imprisoned Marine's hometown congressman taking to the House floor to demand his release. Congressman Dan Kildee is here next.